Recording entry 4721. Glix Vorblek, Senior Xenoanthropologist, Intergalactic Research Station 42. Look, I didn't spend 6 doctorates and 27 galactic cycles studying sentient species to end up as the universe's biggest joke. But here I am, the foremost expert on the most baffling species in the known universe. Humans. Humans. Oh yes, laugh all you want. Everyone does. Even my third appendage twitches with humor when I explain my specialization at academic conferences. For those new to my research, humans evolved on what we classified as a Deathworld. Their planet is 70% covered in a corrosive liquid that they drink for pleasure. Their atmosphere regularly discharges massive electrical currents. Their landscape is dotted with mountains that explosively spew molten planetary core. Even their cute, fuzzy wildlife carries enough venom to drop a Craxian battle tank. By all logical measures, humans should be the most aggressive, paranoid, militaristic species we've ever encountered. The Galactic Union prepared for them accordingly. 3 battle fleets, 17 diplomatic contingencies, and enough firepower to glass a small moon. And what happened? The humans turned out to be the galaxy's best diplomats. Not through skill, mind you. No. Through sheer, unrelenting, mind-boggling incompetence. It's been 150 years since first contact, and I'm still trying to understand how a species can accidentally end 3 interstellar wars while trying to order takeout food. This report will document how humans became the only species in galactic history to win wars without even realizing they were fighting them. If you're looking for sense or reason, you've come to the wrong researcher. All I can offer is facts, observations, and a growing suspicion that humans are either the luckiest idiots in the universe or the most brilliant psychological warriors we've ever encountered. First contact with humans was, in professional academic terms, a complete and utter disaster. The Galactic Union, in all its infinite wisdom, selected Ambassador Trill Pazuk for this historic mission. Pazuk was chosen for his legendary diplomacy skills, having negotiated peace between the silicon-based lithoids and the acid-spewing melters. What the selection committee failed to consider was Pazuk's notorious inability to follow simple directions. I was monitoring the mission from orbit, recalls Fleet Commander Blaz Nubble. Pazuk's shuttle was supposed to land at the United Nations headquarters. Instead, he landed in the parking lot of something called McDonald's because, and I quote, "The golden arches clearly indicated a place of governmental importance." What happened next has become legendary in diplomatic circles. Pazuk, draped in his formal ceremonial robes and flanked by 4 armed guards, marched into the fast food restaurant and declared himself the official representative of the Galactic Union to Earth. Janelle Wilson, the 16-year-old working the register that day, barely looked up from her phone. "You want fries with that?" she asked. Pazuk, believing this to be some form of Earth greeting ritual, responded by presenting the teenage girl with the sacred orb of eternal fellowship, a priceless artifact typically reserved for heads of state. The girl just put it next to the cash register and asked again if he wanted the meal deal, laughs Nubble. And Pazuk said yes because he thought refusing would trigger an interplanetary incident. The real incident came moments later when Pazuk discovered ketchup packets. Having never encountered such technology, he assumed they were some form of Earth weaponry. He spent 14 minutes trying to disarm one before it burst, splattering his ceremonial robes with what he described in his official report as the blood of my enemies. But nothing compares to the confusion that erupted when Pazuk overheard a human family at a nearby table discussing their nuclear family. Code red. Code red. Pazuk screamed into his communicator. The humans are distributing nuclear capabilities to their young. I repeat, children have access to nuclear technology. 3 battlecruisers decloaked above the restaurant before anyone could explain that nuclear family referred to a social unit, not an atomic arsenal. The humans. They barely noticed. One kid asked if the ships were part of the restaurant's new promotional toy line. Another took selfies with the battle cruisers in the background. A third asked Pazook if aliens got free refills too. That's when we knew, sighs Nubble. These humans weren't impressed by our technology, weren't intimidated by our military, and weren't even particularly interested in first contact. They just wanted to know if we were holding up the line for chicken nuggets. The Galactic Union's carefully prepared first contact protocols were officially abandoned 3 hours later, replaced by what is now known as the Just Go With It Directive, now still in use for all human interactions today. If first contact was a disaster, the coffee incident was an interstellar catastrophe that somehow, in typical human fashion, ended up benefiting everyone involved. Our xenobiologists nearly had collective nervous breakdowns when they discovered humans regularly willingly consume what amounts to potent neurotoxins for pleasure. Coffee, tea, chocolate, alcohol, spicy foods, the list goes on. These substances would kill most sentient species, or at least cause severe neurological damage. Humans? They start their day with this poison and get cranky when they don't get it. It defies all logical explanation, explains Dr. Blake Mumblow, head of xenobiology at the Galactic Science Academy. Caffeine evolved specifically to kill insects that might damage plants. Capsaicin, the compound that makes food spicy, is literally a plant's defense mechanism. Humans not only consume these toxins but have developed preferences for different varieties. They argue about which poison tastes better. This bizarre human trait led to Earth's first major galactic export, coffee. Once word spread that humans cultivated and consumed these substances without dying, thrill-seeking members of various species began to experiment. Coffee lounges popped up across the galaxy, where daring non-humans could experience a mild hallucinogenic state from a single drop of espresso diluted in a liter of water. No incident better exemplifies the chaos of this trade than the now infamous story of Admiral Zax Plunkett of the Regalian Defense Fleet. During a routine diplomatic visit to Earth in 2174, Admiral Plunkett noticed a dark liquid in a container labeled fuel on a maintenance cart in the embassy. The Admiral, whose species uses visual cues to identify substances, assumed it was ship fuel, as it resembled the thick, dark propellant used in Regalian vessels. The Admiral was trying to be helpful, explains his former aide, Lieutenant Grex Bimble. He thought he'd save the humans some effort by delivering the fuel himself. So he picked up the container, a coffee maker, as we later learned, and drank the entire pot in one gulp. Thought he was storing it in his auxiliary digestion sac. What followed can only be described as legendary. Admiral Plunkett, experiencing his first caffeine high, rocketed through the embassy at unprecedented speed, but leaving a trail of impromptu decisions and signed documents in his wake. He was speaking at 6 times normal velocity, recalls Ambassador Tina Reynolds. I couldn't understand a word, but he seemed very enthusiastic, so I just kept nodding. In his caffeinated delirium, Admiral Plunkett stumbled into a deadlocked negotiation between 3 species that had been at war for over 300 years. The Vox Collective, the Marillion Dominion, and the Praxi conglomerate had refused to even sit at the same table. The Admiral, vibrating with energy and speaking too rapidly for the translators to keep up, proceeded to grab representatives from each delegation, hugged them tightly against their will, and scribbled something on a document that, when later translated, read, "Everyone friends now. War bad. Coffee good." The 3 species, so confused by this display and concerned about the Admiral's apparent seizure-like state, actually stopped arguing long enough to coordinate medical assistance. By the time they realized the Admiral would survive, they'd accidentally established diplomatic relations. Today, the Plunkett Peace Accord remains in effect, and Vorchen Jew. The 3 formerly warring species celebrate its anniversary by ceremonially consuming extremely diluted coffee together while making exaggerated shaking motions with their appendages. If there's one trait that makes humans simultaneously the most confusing and most effective diplomatic force in the galaxy, It's their bizarre ability to anthropomorphize absolutely anything. Now, and I do mean anything. Most species evolve to recognize faces of their own kind, explains Dr. Tiki Zanzar, leading galactic psychologist. Humans evolved to see faces in clouds, rock formations, and the random arrangement of 3 dots and a line. They assign personalities to their cleaning devices. They name their transportation vehicles. They talk to plants. This peculiar tendency, rather than being the psychological defect we initially classified it as, has proven to be humanity's greatest diplomatic superpower. The case of Jake Murdoch perfectly illustrates this phenomenon. Murdoch, a maintenance technician aboard the International Space Station Omega, was sent to repair a malfunctioning airlock. While on site, he encountered the TX-9000, a rogue war machine that had decimated 17 planets and was known throughout the galaxy as the obliterator of worlds. The TX-9000 had infiltrated the station with the intention of destroying it as a prelude to invading Earth. According to its memory banks, retrieved after the incident, it expected the human to cower in fear or attempt to flee. Instead, Murdoch looked at the death machine bristling with weaponry capable of reducing planets to cosmic dust and said, "Hey there, big fella. You look lost. I'm Jake. What's your name?" When the war machine didn't respond, Murdoch nodded sympathetically. "Shy, huh? That's okay. I'm gonna call you Bob. You like that? Bob?" The TX-9000's logic circuits nearly overloaded. No species had ever attempted to befriend it. None had ever given it a name. According to its programming, this was not a possible scenario. The human offered to show Bob around the station, says Vorblek's Tangle, the xenopsychologist who rehabilitated the war machine. He treated it like a nervous new coworker, showed it the cafeteria, asked about its hobbies. He invited it to game night. By the end of the day, Murdoch had affixed googly eyes to the war machine's primary sensor array and tied a friendship bracelet around its main weapon appendage. The most feared killing machine in the galaxy just gave up, Tangle continues, still sounding bewildered. It abandoned its mission and requested political asylum on Earth so it could continue what it described as hanging out with my best friend Jake. Today, Bob works as a crossing guard at an elementary school in Wisconsin. It helps children cross the street and, according to reports, makes excellent macaroni art. This ability to form emotional attachments extends beyond sentient beings. Humans develop bonds with inanimate objects to an extent that borders on the pathological. They name their ships, their weapons, even their computational devices. More disturbingly, they feel genuine sadness when these objects are damaged or destroyed. I've seen a human military commander cry over a damaged transport vehicle, reports General Cross of the Andromedan Fleet. Not because the damage was tactically significant, but because the vehicle was old, reliable, and deserved a better retirement. We were preparing to exploit this emotional weakness when we discovered something even more terrifying. That discovery? Humans will defend anything they've named with the same ferocity they defend their own offspring. You think they're bad when you threaten their planet? Cross shudders. Try threatening something they've put googly eyes on. They become unstoppable. The Galactic Union now includes a standard warning in all military briefings. If a human names an object, consider it an extension of the human itself. Do not touch it, threaten it, or imply it is less than aesthetically pleasing. Failure to comply may result in what humans call catching these hands, a primitive but effective combat technique. The incident that historians now refer to as the accidental war began, like most disasters involving humans, with a simple misunderstanding. During a routine Galactic Council meeting, Ambassador Lucy Perkins sneezed directly onto the ceremonial headpiece of the Zorgon Emperor. In Zorgon culture, expelling bodily fluids onto royal attire constitutes a formal declaration of war. In human culture, it constitutes Tuesday. I tried to explain it was just allergies. Ambassador Perkins later recounted. But the translator malfunctioned and apparently translated my apology as the first strike has been launched. Prepare your defenses, your excellency smells of processed dairy. The Zorgon Empire, spanning 27 star systems with a military force of over 12 billion soldiers, immediately declared total war against Earth. Their declaration included the traditional Zorgon war cry, a 13-page document outlining the specific ways they intended to obliterate humanity. This declaration arrived at the United Nations mailroom, where it was mistakenly classified as promotional material and used as scratch paper for the office's weekly lottery pool. For 6 months, the Zorgon Empire waged what they believed was an intense war against Earth. They deployed spies, sabotaged what they thought were military installations, and even launched several cyber attacks. Meanwhile, humans continued their daily lives, completely unaware they were supposedly engaged in an interstellar conflict. "We couldn't understand it," admits former Zorgon War Minister Krax Baruda. "We'd sabotage their power plants, and they'd just fix them. And continue sending us shipments of coffee and entertainment media, as who trades with their sworn enemies." The Zorgon High Command became increasingly frustrated by humanity's apparent indifference to the state of war. Their confusion reached its peak with what became known as the Pizza Incident. Mac Reynolds was a delivery driver for Stellar Slices, the first pizza chain to expand into off-world markets. On the night in question, Reynolds received an order for 24 extra-large pizzas with unusual toppings to be delivered to what the order form listed as Business Conference, Warehouse 7, Area 51. "I just thought it was another corporate retreat," Reynolds explains, scratching his head. "You know how those executives get when they're brainstorming. Weird food orders, strange hours. Didn't think twice about it." What Reynolds didn't know was that Warehouse 7 was actually the secret base of the Zorgon's elite infiltration unit. They had placed the order using a stolen corporate account as part of an elaborate ruse to study human food for potential vulnerabilities. Reynolds, armed with nothing but a thermal delivery bag and a portable payment processor, drove straight past the most sophisticated security perimeter the Zorgons had established. When stopped by armed guards, he simply said, "Pizza delivery for the meeting. Someone ordered 24 pies. Already paid for online, but I still need a signature." The Zorgon guards, trained to expect elaborate infiltration attempts, were completely unprepared for the simplicity of Reynolds' approach. Assuming he must be a high-level operative using some form of psychological warfare, they escorted him directly to their command center. This human walked into our most secure facility, past 73 armed guards, 3 biometric scanners, and a quantum entanglement verification field, reported Captain Zerg Niblex. He showed no fear. He asked for a tip. When our commander activated the emergency lockdown, the human just said, "Cool light show," and offered us garlic bread. We were certain this was some form of advanced psychological operation. The Zorgon High Command, believing Reynolds must be an elite human operative, panicked. They assumed his direct approach to their headquarters was either a peace offering or a show of force so confident that it bordered on insulting. The human breached all our defenses while whistling something called "Livin' on a Prayer," Niblex continued. When questioned about Earth's defense strategies, he gave us a 20% discount card and recommended the stuffed crust. Our tactical analysts are still trying to decode the meaning. The following day, the Zorgon Empire officially withdrew all forces and sued for peace, convinced that any species confident enough to send a single, seemingly unarmed operative directly into enemy headquarters must possess military capabilities far beyond their own understanding. After 6 months of what the Zorgons considered to be intense warfare, and what humans considered to be Tuesday through Sunday, Grand Admiral Klax Dominer made the decision that would forever change galactic politics. The Zorgon Empire would launch a full-scale invasion of Earth, committing their entire armada to one decisive battle. "We had no choice," Dominer later wrote in his memoir, "How to Lose a War Without Really Trying." The humans were ignoring our attacks. Our soldiers were developing morale issues. Some of them had started ordering pizza regularly from the enemy. The invasion date was set. The Armada 17,000 warships carrying over 5 million troops arrived in Earth's orbit on what humans call spring break. This timing would prove catastrophic. As the Zorgon ships took position around the planet, they received an unexpected transmission from Earth. Instead of desperate pleas for mercy or declarations of defiance, they received tourism brochures. "Welcome to Earth," began the cheerful automated message from the Global Tourism Board. "It looks like a lot of visitors have just arrived. Here's some information about local attractions, accommodations, and all-you-can-eat buffet locations. Don't forget to download our app for special discounts." The Zorgon commanders stared at each other in confusion. Was this some kind of psychological warfare? A trick? Admiral Dominer ordered a small reconnaissance team to land near a population center to assess the situation. The team touched down outside Miami Beach, weapons ready, prepared for resistance. Instead, they were immediately surrounded by college students on spring break who assumed the aliens were wearing awesome costumes for a promotional event. "Spring break, woo!" shouted one human, draping a colorful necklace around a confused Zorgon captain's neck tentacle. Another handed out t-shirts reading, "I visited Earth and all I got was this lousy t-shirt." The reconnaissance team, unable to comprehend this response, retreated to their ship covered in decorative necklaces, holding complimentary cocktails, and wearing Earth merchandise. "The humans appear to be celebrating our invasion," the bewildered captain reported. "They've given us ritual garments and ceremonial beverages. Several attempted to take self-portraits with our troops." Admiral Dominer ordered additional landing parties to other locations. Each reported similar experiences. In Tokyo, they were directed to tourist information centers. In London, they were invited on double-decker bus tours. In New York, they were charged triple the normal price for hot dogs. The final breaking point came when a human child asked a Zorgon general to sign his alien hunter autograph book, right next to signatures from actors who played aliens in popular films. That evening, Admiral Dominer suffered what xenopsychologists now recognize as an existential crisis. How could the Zorgons wage war against an enemy that welcomed their invasion force as tourists? What glory was there in conquering a planet that offered discount coupons to its conquerors? The next morning, the entire Zorgon armada received an order from their supreme commander: return to home space. The humans have deployed a psychological weapon we cannot counter. They're nice? 3 days later, Admiral Dominer personally delivered the formal surrender of the Zorgon Empire to the United Nations, or tried to. The document was mistakenly processed by the UN gift shop as a merchandise return, and Dominer was issued store credit. Not a single shot had been fired. Earth had won its first interstellar war without even knowing it was fighting one. Recording entry 4721, conclusion. Glix Vorblek, Senior Xenoanthropologist, Intergalactic Research Station 42. After 150 years of studying humans, I'm forced to consider a disturbing possibility. What if humans aren't diplomatic accidents waiting to happen? What if they're the most sophisticated psychological warriors the galaxy has ever encountered? Consider the evidence. Since first contact, humans have ended 17 interstellar conflicts without firing a shot, negotiated 32 peace treaties while attempting to order food, conquered the Zorgon Empire with tourism brochures, transformed the galaxy's most feared war machine into a crossing guard named Bob. Humans now run conflict resolution seminars across the galaxy. These seminars consist primarily of humans shrugging and saying, "Have you tried being nice to each other? And maybe share a pizza?" The most disturbing part: these simplistic approaches work. My colleagues believe humans are just lucky fools who stumble through the cosmos spreading accidental peace. I'm not convinced. No species can be this consistently successful through sheer incompetence. Perhaps humanity's greatest weapon is convincing everyone they have no weapons at all. Perhaps their apparent obliviousness is the most elaborate military strategy ever devised. Perhaps they knew exactly what they were doing when they offered our invasion fleet discount coupons and souvenir t-shirts. Or perhaps they really are just weird primates from a Deathworld who solved galactic diplomacy by accident. Either way, one thing is certain. The galaxy is a safer, stranger, and significantly more caffeinated place since humans joined the interstellar community. And if there's one piece of advice this researcher can offer after 150 years of study, it's this. Stay on their good side. Not because they're dangerous, but because they'll never stop trying to befriend you if they think you're upset with them. And there's nothing more terrifying in the universe than a human who's determined to cheer you up. End recording. Now, where did I put that world's best xenoanthropologist mug the humans gave me? I've grown quite attached to it,